Hi everyone. So I am Tony and I work at Global Action Plan and support with UKSSN, and I am joined by two other UKSSN students who will go on to introduce themselves.
Sure, yeah. So my name is Shreya. I am currently in year 13, so hopefully should be going into uni this year. I joined LSEN, which is a part of UKSSN, around 2 years ago, and then I've been working with them and integrating our school ever since with some eco initiatives.
Hi, I'm Pim. I'm also in year 13, so hopefully we'll be doing environmental science in September. And I joined the regional network about September last year or the year before. Yeah.
Oh, nice, interesting. So how did you both hear about UKSSN?
We had two eco deputy head girls last year who were part of LSEN, and then myself and Bella came onto that role this year. So we started going to the LSEN meetings, and from kind of that I got involved. But Tiffin, my school, has been part of it for around 2.5 to 3 years, so a little bit longer. But yeah, that's how I heard about it.
Yeah, similarly to Shreya, I was also in a climate leadership role at school, and then it was a teacher kind of referred us to Avon School's Eco Network, and then obviously from there we joined the national network.
Nice. And why specifically do you get involved with UKSSN or your regional network?
I think it was just so last year they'd done Tiffin had been a big part of it, and we'd done quite a lot of eco changes within the school, and it felt a bit silly to not continue on that work. So if we hadn't joined it, it would have kind of made it all stagnant for a whole year. So I think for that reason we threw ourselves completely into the role and decided to sign ourselves up to new opportunities. So it was more to make sure that we still were aligned with our goals and didn't kind of become stagnant over the year.
Yeah, so we had a climate conference that we set up in March last year, and that was with lots of other schools in the area. And then that was kind of just a natural transition into Avon School's Eco Network, because it was kind of oh, we've made these connections with all these other schools, and we're all on there's loads of students who are on the same kind of interests and energy. We wanted to join Avon School's Eco Network because everyone was just kind of had the same eagerness and had the same kind of passion, and it was well, why not, and do something that might be a little bit bigger than just in our school.
So sort of moving on from wanting to trying to make a bigger impact essentially for both of you, yeah. And so far, what has your experience been like at UKSSN? What do you feel like you've gotten out of it?
Honestly, it's been quite a rewarding experience. I didn't know much about kind of eco initiatives at all, and both myself and Bella were quite scared when we came into it because we thought everyone would know a lot of facts, a lot of kind of articles, would know a lot about the environment. But it was more kind of a learning process, and we started getting a lot more opportunities within our school, and it meant that a lot more students within our school felt more connected. We could actually see that we were having an impact on the environment, not just something that was going on on the wider scale, but rather on our school grounds or within our school community. So I think for that reason it was both fulfilling and rewarding. A little bit stressful at times because you get lots of information thrown at you and then you have to cater to what your school can do. But at the same time, it was something that was very different to what I'd done before. So overall, a very positive experience. Yeah.
Well, that's really nice to hear how it's trickled down back to your school community. What about you, Kim?
Yeah, I think similarly, the scope of opportunity in itself, it's kind of there's so much out there, you've kind of got to be okay, wait, I have to filter it down now, and kind of okay, who can I refer this opportunity to, and it's kind of okay, pick and choose. But yeah, I think that opportunity in itself has been amazing, and the learning experience. So yeah, the opportunity's been amazing. The learning experience, in terms of learning about the environment in itself has been a lot, and like the processes in like government, how that happens, in like charities, in schools. I think a lot of it has also been like learning about how schools actually work as well, and that's something that you don't really kind of think about before. And then just kind of opportunities and learning in how you work yourself. I think it's a lot of like skills that is just something that you need practice from, and it's not like you can read a book and suddenly you have good communication skills or good like chairing skills or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I have to agree on Pim's point. I think I wasn't very connected to my school, but once you join UKSSN, you end up talking to a lot of teachers, and teachers that you don't think you'll be talking to, like canteen staff or even your deputy heads. Like, you don't think you're going to have that connection as a student. But then you start understanding how the school system works and what you have to do to implement changes. So that was quite surprising as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually quite interesting to see how it's helped you like integrate better with your school, and also like how I think Pim mentioned some of how it's helped with like your communication skills and like transferable skills as well. So you've also mentioned quite a bit about like there's been quite a few opportunities through UKSSN. So what have you both like gotten involved in the last year as part of UKSSN that you really want to like talk about and highlight?
Yeah, so regionally we've done a couple of like conferences, and we've done things with businesses in the area. So we've got like this kind of certificate now for businesses to try and get businesses to achieve like their sustainability goals, and meeting lots of other students in the area and doing some like short films and things. Like nationally we've done so I've gone to the Department for Education climate change and sustainability strategy launch, which was a very interesting experience to go to. So also now on the UKSSN board as a external youth representative, since I'm in year 13, so like alumni soon. But yeah, those are a few of the opportunities that I've taken a hold of.
Yeah, ours has been quite similar as well. I think one of the highlights of the week, which was a very stressful period because we had our A-level mocks at the same time, so it was like, ooh. But one of the highlights of the year has to be we did an eco week in around October, and we got loads of schools in the local kind of region, so in Kingston, to come and participate in it. So we had loads of students, around 200 people in the room, and we had talks by experts. We had it in environment in the medical field, environment in the mining field. We had one by Kit Rackley, who discussed the IPCC Code Red report, and it kind of trickled down to having a lot of swap shops, litter picks within our area. We did sustainable wrapping paper. We had lots of talks with the younger years to see what they would like to do, lots of competitions. And I think through that, it became a lot more kind of integrated as a school community rather than just individual people trying to support the network. So that was definitely one of the highlights. And then we had the Whiteham Woods trip, which was also quite a big highlight of the year.
Did you both go on like the Wytham Wood residential?
So I went. Yeah, it was around a couple of weeks ago, but it feels like a while ago. But yeah, it was quite a nice experience.
Well, that's interesting to hear all the different things that you've both got involved in, and realizing that there's also like there's more beyond like the when people think of like getting involved with like sustainability things. They usually think like it's assemblies, workshops, but you guys have mentioned so many different interesting ways that you can work on climate action within your schools, and being creative with those ideas as well, which is quite interesting. So now I just want to ask, like, why do both of you like think it's important that young people come together through networks like UKSSN?
I think it's very important, and it was highlighted a lot in the Whiteham Woods trip because we had lots of different age groups within that trip, and everyone was really positive, and there was a lot of positivity surrounding the environment, and you realise that there's a lot of goodness or positivity within young kind of students, and there's a lot of potential in that area within schools, and we have to kind of harvest that into actual tangible change, because we are the generation who is going to have to face all the difficulties in 20, 30 years' time. So I think it's very important that we take young people's ideas and then make it into changes, however kind of easy it is to say and difficult to do, but it's one of the core kind of, I guess, things that we need to focus on for the next couple of years, because there is a lot of potential and a lot of people really do care. So I think for that reason, it's pretty important, yeah.
Yeah, I think linking to kind of what Shreya said is that a lot of the narrative surrounding young people in the kind of like climate space is that we're all like sad and depressed, which, I mean, to some extent a lot of young people experience eco-anxiety, but something in this like group, especially in UKSSN, is there's just so much of that energy and positivity and a bit of fun. I think bringing fun into it is so motivating. So being able to see other people have fun while like actually making an impact has been really great, and also kind of combats with a little bit of that eco-anxiety, because you're like, well, other people are feeling the same thing, but we're doing something together, we're experiencing all these things together. I think has made a huge impact in bringing everyone together.
And do you think that's also affected like the work that you collaborate on, like that hope and that want to definitely work on it? Everyone's initial like passion to work on that. Do you think it's also helping in terms of like the group dynamics within UKSSN to also, push campaigns or projects that you're working on?
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a sense of, need and want to really work together, because it's very difficult for one individual to just make a massive change. But when you are in such an environment as your school, where you have so many students and so many staff to help you as well, I think there's that kind of inner motivation to come together, because you have that space, you have that environment, so why not utilize it? So I think it's both desperation to do something, but also a very kind of sense of wanting and needing to help your own future, I guess.
No, yeah, it's good to hear that UKSSN has created that space for both of you and for other students to be able to work on this together. Now that both of you are in like your last year of high school and you're moving on after this, are you planning on staying in touch afterwards?
Definitely, yeah. So, I mean, since I'm a part of the UKSSN board, that was kind of the intention as well of me applying for that, is that like I knew my time was as like a student here was kind of running out, but I wanted to see what I could do to carry on with that. And I know I'll definitely still be in contact with students who are in the networks and also my mentors, because they have been like an amazing support. And I think like finding mentors itself is like quite difficult, but yeah, they've been amazing. So I'll definitely still keep in contact with everyone.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It feels a bit like it cuts it too short if you stop when school ends, because it feels like you've done all of this kind of work and you've met so many new people. Why leave that when you're just moving on to university? So I completely agree. It's a really nice opportunity, and one of the ways I think as alumni, however weird that sounds, is maybe I'd like to kind of have some ties between universities and schools. I think that would be quite beneficial, and I think for that reason I'd like to stay on. I don't know how helpful it would be and how difficult it would be potentially with the next year, but I guess just keeping that contact would be nice, because you have something, whatever help you can provide or whatever help you can kind of get from something like UKSSN or LSCN or the AVEN network. I think it's beneficial to both kind of your next part in life and the like network of UKSSN. So yeah, definitely.
I know you've already mentioned, like you've touched a bit on, like you do plan on staying in touch afterwards. Are there any other plans that you have to like continue taking climate action next year?
Yeah, so I mean, linking to what Shreya said in terms of like bringing university into it as well, I think I'm really, through UKSSN, I'm really motivated to try and see like whether there's any university level groups and how like those connect, and like whether like if that's something that's already there, I'll join that. But if it's not there, then maybe like, is that something that needs to be started? And also like just carrying on the opportunities that I've already had with UKSSN, so through like Force of Nature. So I've managed to be able to work with them, so just continuing that work with them. And yeah, I think UKSSN has kind of taught me to take and find opportunities, and I'm definitely going to keep carrying on that kind of attitude. So yeah.
Yeah, on a very similar note as well, similar to what Pim said, the ties between universities and schools, and starting something that potentially isn't there, or kind of continuing something that already is there. But to add on to that also, I know one of UKSSN's kind of goals is to expand their regional networks to touch parts of the country that perhaps don't have their own small networks. So one of the things that I'd really like to do is some of that outreach to get in touch with a lot more schools, communities within the UK, perhaps even in London. So just to get more students and schools into the network, because it helps both parties, both the school and the network. So something along those lines as well would be quite rewarding, I think.
Actually, yeah, sorry, linking to that as well was part of our regional network. We've already kind of like started to look into how we can link to like primary schools as well, so thinking about that. So maybe like I'll probably kind of still be in contact with the regional network in terms of like possibly organising that and seeing what we can find there. Yeah.
Great, thank you. That's yeah. It's nice to hear like your future plans and how you're hoping to continue with climate action and expand what you've been working on over the last year. And then I just want to ask, do you have any like final comments about UKSSN that you'd like to share, or something that maybe you haven't mentioned or haven't had the opportunity to mention?
I think on the whole, I didn't think that I'd end up acquiring the skills that I kind of ended up getting. We did a lot of chairing and minuting, which I never thought I'd be doing in year 13. And it was a good way to understand, as Pim said earlier on, you learn a lot of skills within yourself and also kind of leadership qualities that I didn't think I had. But when you have to relay information from a network to your school, you have to sort of acquire communication skills, bringing people together, and all of the stuff that comes with that. So I think for that reason, it was both very beneficial to the school, but also for me and Bella, because we represented our school, it was a really nice way to understand how do we cope with getting so much information. What did we learn from the experience? So I'd say confidence, leadership qualities, and teamwork, those three, but also just the really nice feeling of meeting people who have the similar mindset to what you have, seeing people really positive, seeing staff, Dr. Tipton, who runs UKSSN, and being able to remotely help COP26 or to follow the news and actually understand what's going on rather than just blindly watching something. So I think, just the exposure and the opportunities that come with being a part of a network which is so big and filled with so many different students with so many different mindsets but the same shared goal. So yeah, that.
Yeah, I think definitely, and like stamping into what Shreya said is like just the energy after every meeting. You just kind of get this surge of like, yes, like, oh my gosh, I've got this idea, like I want to go on and do that now, and like it's like, okay, reel it in a bit. But and being in the meeting and seeing the age group as well, there's like a relative kind of, there's a little bit of a spread of ages, and it's so cool to see the younger years kind of like, you can see it in their eyes, they just kind of get like really passionate about talking about it, and you're like, yeah, like this is what I want to kind of instill more in other people. And I think it's just great to kind of see that. And it's just something that I don't think you could do on your own. Like, you can't foster that kind of energy or motivation on your own. And it's a lot more difficult too. So having this community link is just amazing.
Yeah, I really agree with that last point, and it kind of hit me with, we have so much energy within students or young people, but you really need kind of support from staff and teachers to help you direct that energy to a particular goal. And you can always have networks filled with just students and students running meetings, but you do need that kind of support from your school, from the staff in your school, and that's what UKSSN provides. It's that backing for you to do all of your ideas or to share all of your ideas, and then having the staff help out, having your school providing perhaps the support system. So it's that kind of, it's more of it's a really positive space, but also allows you to showcase your ideas in a more structured manner. But yeah, agree with absolutely everything Pim said.
Yeah, I think in that way, I feel a lot more confident as well, like going into things and bringing other people's ideas in or making decisions about things, because I know to some extent how certain systems work, like how schools work, or possibly like bits of like government, as complicated as it is sometimes, like a little bit of an understanding about that. And so yeah, I feel a lot more confident to talk about it as well, and kind of create ideas around it, because I've met people who work in it or experience it or have told me about it. So yeah.
Well, thank you both for sharing your experiences. I think it's great to hear it from like a student perspective, and seeing that like what UKSSN has set out to be is what you guys have claimed to be your experience. So it's really great and affirming to hear that you've been able to have such a good experience being part of UKSSN. Just thanks for setting time aside for today's panel.